sovereignty and territorial autonomy of the Kingdom of Spain. The general public is hereby advised not to heed any information purported to emanate from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or authorized state institutions without proper verification as to the authenticity of the source. The release concludes. Activist Gambia has convened young people to discuss their engagement in politics and decision-making. The program, attracting 50 youth across the country, aims to encourage youth participation in nation building. Khadija Juara has the rest in this report.
The program, funded by the National Endowment for Democracy, once aimed to increase youth's participation and involvement in the decision-making processes of the country. The National Coordinator, Activista Alhaji Nyang, said Activista established to help in the promotion of democracy and contribute to sound decision-making in the running of the country. He noted that Activista has a crucial role to play in the development of the country.
If we look into our current status, we realize that the involvement and participation of young people in decision-making processes and in decision-making bodies is not up to what we want to be. Our involvement is, to some extent, to a great extent rather, lacking.
Nyang also pointed out that his organization works towards improving youth participation in governance. The project coordinator, National Endowment for Democracy, Omar Danso, said the project is geared towards the understanding of young people in the decision-making process and the political processes. He said many youths are excluded in the decision-making process, which is not helpful for the country's democracy.
We understand that there is low awareness when it comes to civic rights and responsibilities, when it comes among the young people, and especially women. But we also understand that the political space is not created for us in the community level, in our communities, in our regions, when it comes to youth participation in decision-making processes.
Danso encouraged the youths to actively participate in the decision-making processes of the country. One of the members, Mbasi Mane, and Vice Chairman Activista Board, Dauda Samba, both advised the youths to be active and be disciplined. Samba noted that the training will enhance youth's participation in decision-making. He pointed out that Activista is a group of youths that are always willing to promote democracy and encourage positive social change.
We are always proud to call ourselves the best in the country. And this is not just by design, but because of the way we work. Activista is a youth network different from any other. Our slogan and our principles, our implementation strategies are always almost geared towards building your capacity to advocate for yourself. Gone are those days when people will speak on your behalf, when people will do things on your behalf. It's high time that we speak for ourselves and do things that affect our lives.
He urged youths to be proactive and continue to network with other youth members to enhance better understanding of democracy. Reporting for GRTS News, I am Khadija Juara.
Now to another press release. It has come to the notice of the Ministry of the Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources that certain unscrupulous wood dealers and businessmen are currently engaged in the illegal exploitation and the re-export of kino logs, otherwise known as rosewood, and other trees even after the reimposition of bans on the felling, transportation and exportation of the semi-processed logs outside the Gambia. It has also come to the Ministry's notice that certain people are loading containers at secret locations within the Greater Banjul area for export. This is contrary to the Forest Act and regulations of 1998, and therefore anyone found wanting will face the full force of the law. The general public is hereby informed that the ban imposed on the re-export of kino logs still holds, and a task force is already constituted to monitor the illegal exploitation and smuggling of logs across the country's borders and elsewhere. The utilization and movement of log forests produces excluding Kino is however permitted, but trucks carrying logs for domestic use must have proper official documents, or else the logs will be confiscated and culprits prosecuted in a court of law. Now, the St. Paul's Parish Church community recently held a press briefing to inform the Gambian populace about an ongoing project seeking to address critical issues crippling its church premises. Intense coastal flooding and destruction caused by heavy sea waves is said to be a major bottleneck for inhabitants of the Fajara seafront area. Ansu Jack tells us more.
This organization, like many humanitarian groups, is geared towards complementing government's efforts. St. Paul Parish Church community kick-started with an amount of $1.5 million to help protect the church environment from hazards. The event took the form of a press briefing to inform the masses on the project seeking to construct a 15-meter wide seawall from the cliff area where the St. Paul's Church is located, as it continues to slope downwards towards the ground and sea level.
This is a problem that started some time ago, and it's something that I suppose we have been battling with. We haven't done much about it, but now we have reached something of a critical period, and we are now trying to do whatever we can to save this wonderful church of ours.
The St. Paul Parish Church community is also looking to raise awareness about its services in both religious and community development. The program aims to attract support to enhance the efforts of individuals who collaborated to implement existing projects carried by church members.
This church of historical significance, in fact, as far back as the Second World War, has been standing. So we are really keen to ensure that this edifice is protected, and even go further in years to come to renovate it, refurbish it, and give it a solid foundation.
In the quest to construct a long-lasting seawall that will protect the church from the strong impact of erosion and other issues detrimental to church safety, officials are looking into all possibilities to register success and possibly partner with key stakeholders and government to provide necessary support for effective intervention.
This church was built by the soldiers who came to work in the Gambia during the World War II. We would remember as boys, we used to go down this beach. It was no problem. My children also used to go down this beach. There was no problem. But if you go, when I take you to the site over there, you will begin to imagine the danger that we are confronted with, especially when you have 30 children running around this place.
A project meant to protect the St. Paul Parish Church from the dangers of erosion is also projected to remind the population of key value that each patriot should play in contributing towards nation building. Ansu Jack reporting for GRTS News.
The week-long pre-session training for the oversight committees of the National Assembly finally drew its curtain in Tendaba camp in the Lower River region. National Assembly Speaker Mariam Jack Denton has underscored that the capacity-building retreat was worth every second spent in deliberation. Louis Mende filed in this news report.
Capacity building for the oversight committees of the National Assembly has finally ended here in Tendaba camp, and since it was designed to hone the parliamentarian skills in oversight functions, let's take a listen to what they've learned during the conclave.
Oversight functions promote democracy. It also minimizes encumbrances and commotion within the governance systems. Oversight functions promote or reduces corruption within the governance system. So that's why I presume that if we carry out our oversight functions the way we are expected to do it, meaning that there is no doubt this country will move forward.
I have learned so many things. You talk of oversight functions, which was one of the topics, budget scrutiny, and also budget processes. These are the key areas when it comes to oversight functions. The knowledge gained here, as long as the MPs are concerned, during carrying out their oversight functions, they will be able to do it up to expectation.
We learn a lot, especially on our oversight committee's function. And we also learn how to scrutinize the budget, especially end of the year.
Well, certainly you will agree with me that some of us are first-timers, and then it's like we need to know and familiarize ourselves with some of the parliamentary procedures. You know how important the various committees in the National Assembly are important. They are the lifeblood of the National Assembly. So the training has really helped us, to expose us to certain techniques as to how we do our work pertaining to our functions of the various committees of the National Assembly.
For the Speaker of the House and the subject matter specialist Jibairu Jane, the convergence was not time and money in the drain.
The retreat has been very successful in the sense that we've had very good presentations from different people in various areas of parliamentary functions, especially oversight, because as you know, this is a three-session oversight training, and the National Assembly members were exposed to the areas that they need to concentrate on. And we were lucky to have had local experts and also an international consultant.
It is essential because the National Assembly members engage in legislation, representation, and oversight. In each of these, scrutiny is involved. So most of them being new National Assembly members, it is essential that capacity is built, that they are better prepared to be able to understand the job that lies in front of them, to be able to understand that as Assembly members, they determine the democratic space for this country. They are responsible for ensuring that public policies, public finance is actually serving the wishes and aspirations of the people.
Back in Banjul, the NAMs are expected to resume their oversight functions in the coming weeks. Louis Mendy, GRTS.
The leadership of the People's Democratic Organization Independence and Socialism (PDOIS) has held a press briefing at its headquarters in Churchillstown. The briefing came on the heels of a European tour by the Secretary General of the party, Halifa Sallah, which took him to several European cities. Well, GRTS Bagwa Kamara has details in this report.
Following his recent trip to Europe, the Secretary General of the People's Democratic Organization Independence and Socialism, Halifa Sallah, has conveyed a press briefing outlining the outcome of the visit.
We convey to them that Gambia has changed forever. It will never be the same again. But we emphasize to them that the new Gambia needs a new Gambia if we are going to be the architects of our own destiny. And that new Gambian must understand that we do not have a tribal treasury, the treasury of a religious group, the treasury of a gender. We have a national treasury.
The PDOIS executive has reaffirmed his resolve to fight for fundamental freedoms that guarantees the rights and dignity of Gambians, irrespective of political and party affiliation, a virtue he vows to implant into his party supporters.
We saw our role to be to liberate our people. And the starting point of the liberation of the people is to liberate their minds. We told our supporters, our members, not to be confused by those who fail to distinguish liberation from cheap populist popularity.
Honorable Sallah described his trip as a success and extends invitations to Gambians in the diaspora to come home and play their role in nation building. Following his recent trip,
Well, we apologize for the cut of that. And now today's story. Ex-pupils of Bundung Lower Basic School on Thursday presented school materials for 36 outstanding pupils and 4 sponsorship packages for a 4th grader in the school. The move, as Khadija Tujaro reports, was meant to plow back and contribute to a school that gave them a solid educational foundation whose benefit are being reaped today.
Ex-pupils of Bundung Lower Basic School are using technology to come together and see what they can contribute to a school they believe has contributed in their success. The presentation of these school materials to outstanding pupils of the school is the first move taken by the association. Association members recall the old days when learning environments was not so favorable.
I wish I was privileged to have the access to be housed in such a building. Then I would have done better. On that note, we would have to thank the government for that wonderful effort to transform this school from a cringing house to various story buildings.
Abla came up with the idea of establishing a WhatsApp group. And believe you me, this WhatsApp group, even if the WhatsApp group did not take all the credits, but it played greater part of the efforts that lead to this today.
The headmistress of Bundung Lower Basic School, Aissatou Jallow, commended ex-pupils for the laudable gesture. Jallow also gave credit to the founders of the school, late headmaster Bunama Sisi, and others who contributed to the school's development.
To give back as your alma mater, it cannot be overemphasized. Even if it was only one ex-pupil or more who just thought of Bundung, that this was my school, the school I went through, and I want to give them back, that alone was enough, much more, to be presented with this laudable gifts that we have seen on the table.
Basiru Menga of the Region 1 Education Directorate hailed the association for complementing government's efforts.
You might feel that it's very small, but as far as we parents are concerned, it's a very big thing that you have given to us. And then who knows, perhaps among those luckiest people that are going to be giving this, there might be a parent who cannot afford to buy a single book. Much more talking of uniforms that are sewn and then stuffing those back with books.
Apart from the 36 who received a package of school materials, Fatoumata Sise, a 4th grader, was provided with a cash amount to take care of her study fees and other school expenses, which, according to the sponsor, will be continued up to Upper and Senior Learning Institute if she continue to perform well. Bundung Ward Councillor, youth activists, retired teachers, ex-food vendors, and ex-caretaker all expressed gratitude for the move and the rare opportunity to meet again in this school that is their favorite alma mater. This presentation, according to ex-pupils, is the beginning of a more fruitful relationship with the school in the future, as they called on more former students of Bundung Lower Basic School to come on board and join the crusade. Khadija Tujaro, reporting for GRTS News.
The Gambia's march towards building a fully fledged democratic country takes one huge step, with another forum meant to discuss transitional justice in the Gambia. The forum brought together legal experts and activists. Babukar Senghor tells us more.
The march is on to sustain the gains of the new Gambia, building stronger democratic institutions and ensure a swift break with the past. This forum, the latest to have been rolled out, centers on transitional justice in the Gambia. The platform opened important issues regarding the critical subject.
In our reform agenda is the constitution of the country. It is the law above all laws. It is the body of laws from which every organ of state derives their authority. And we have come to the conclusion, after a review or discussion on the 1997 Constitution, that the best way forward for this country is to adopt a new one.
For our country that went through a difficult period of political crisis, this forum is crucial for Gambians to not only move on, but learn lessons of the past.
So the period from a shift for most African states from undemocratic rule to democratic rule had implications. That transition is what we are going to discuss, and that is what Gambia witnessed in December 2016.
It is a challenging period for the country and a society that has seen its fair share of abuses and illegal violations of the Constitution. A fresh start is certainly a welcome development in New Gambia.
There is one also important thing that we learn from this important process, and many people are talking about it, and I think that is where we need the media and the research institutions such as the university. How Gambia did it? This is a complex and a very groundbreaking story that needs to be documented properly.
This process is being done with renewed vigor, marked by a first approach. The new partnership between government and civil society organizations is building a common platform to breathe life into the new Gambia.
What kind of Gambia do we want? And this is what makes fundamental the importance of transitional justice.
It might sound more like a national obsession, but the timing is right for the Gambia to set her sight on building stronger institutions and plan to promote the agenda of justice, peace and reconciliation. For GRTS News, this is Babukar Senghor.
Well, time now to take a break. When we come back, discover the latest initiative aiming to improve women's soccer in the Gambia. Well, do stay with us. We'll be right back.
Imagine your staff not having to worry about having credit when they need to make an important work-related call. Well, QCell's Closed User Group service gives you and them that peace of mind. QCell's Closed User Group CUG is an affordable and efficient way for businesses and organizations to reduce their communications costs whilst increasing efficiency at the same time. Whether your business is small, medium, or large, the QCell's Closed User Group service has different packages to suit your budget and gives you a choice of plans that can include a QCell SIM card and Samsung mobile phones, or just a SIM card. You can get the QCell CUG service for as low as $100 a month per user for unlimited calls within your closed user group. Call our CUG sales team today on 333-3127. That's 333-3127, and they will visit your office to highlight the great range of plans and mobiles. QCell's Closed User Group, making communications easier. QCell, Sunyu SIM, Sunyu Boss. We innovate, others follow.
Welcome back. A number of stakeholders were present at the latest Women's Football Symposium seeking to enhance support for women's soccer in the Gambia. The occasion also introduced the new program behind this campaign dubbed Let's Go Women Initiative, aimed at promoting and encouraging women's involvement in football. Sena Mujain tells us more.
Here, the National Sports Council convenes to discuss the state of women's football in the Gambia. 11 teams from the first and second division were represented at the meeting, which seeks to pave a way forward for the development of women's football. The president of the Gambia's Football Federation explained plans to encourage and mobilize more women interested in football across the country.
It's an activity, part of the program of the visiting German football expert, specifically women's football, Mrs. Monica Stab. She has been seconded to Russia for 2 months through the intervention of the Gambia National Olympic Committee to first of all assess the state of women's football in the country, and also to help us develop programs and activities for the future development of women's football in the country.
Encouraging young ladies and women in football is a key undertaking being currently driven by the NYC, according to Marcel Mendy.
It is always a pleasure to appreciate it when people do good. And also, therefore, I will not stop without appreciating the efforts of the GNOC. And again, my mother and auntie, Jigen Bumungur, especially for their effort in ensuring that we have Madam Stab and Caroline Brown in the Gambia to help us develop our football and women football in particular. My chief briefly narrated earlier on, they had actually initiated this effort. The need to bring out or to bring home somebody who will help us develop not only our football, but look in particular at our women football. Because we realize too that the women, the girls, have got the potentials, and all they need is a push, and they will get there.
Mendy further stressed that the future of Gambian football lies in the hands of the citizenry, which includes women who form the majority. Given as much support to women's football to equal and perhaps surpass the attention accorded to men's soccer in the NYC's goal, Marcel underlined and thanked the ministry for focusing efforts towards a rather vital cause. Presentations viewing the different teams involved women's football came next.
That is part of my life, that I always were fighting for women football, and so I've been the last 10 years in 75 countries all over Asia and Africa, and to develop women football, to give them the help. I always say I give them some sparks, and have to lit the fire themselves, of course, each association, each football federation. And I want to give them my know-how and my expertise I have grown for so many years, that they can benefit from this, and hopefully that women football grows in every country like it did in Germany.
The presentation revealed the presence of 2,000 football players registered in the Gambia. The pro-licensed instructor for women's football in Germany, Monica Stab, will be in the Gambia for the next 2 months to support young women involved in football.
It is an event that is organized to increase the number of girls playing football in the Gambia and other countries. The FIFA Live Your Goal program, the first in the Gambia, which is organized just to increase the number of girls and women playing football in the Gambia.
If you see people that want to support the talent that you have, because in the Gambia, a lot of young girls like I do have the talent of football. Back then it was restricted by our parents, but now we thank God that there's the one supporting. And if we have people that leave their countries to come and help in order to promote it, I will be very delighted, and to say that we are ever ready to push female football in forward.
Saini Sisoho, the Gambia's women's football coordinator, underscored the encouraging nature of the initiative she described as a major move to develop women's soccer.
The symposium theme is to create awareness of women's football, to give us more ideas what we are doing, and then we come with a resolution that we are taking that to implement.
She went on to encourage all stakeholders and financial institutions to come forward and support female football teams, as parents increasingly welcomed the idea of girls joining what has for long been a male-dominated sport. Reporting for GRTS News, I am Saina Bujang.
And now, football lovers in the community of Katang are going back to the villages, a football field for a replay of a final between United Brothers and Triple C Football Club. The two giant sides played a 1-1 draw in the initial finals, which resulted in an unfinished post-match penalty shootout. The replay final is yet to be scheduled by the organizers. From there, viewers, we go for another break. When we return, witness Ethiopia's successful shift from agriculture to a textile economy, and why the Nigerian government is still locked in heated talks with labor unions in the West African country. Don't go away, we'll be right back. Welcome back. Now let's head to Ethiopia, where a booming textile and garment industry is reshaping the country's economy. That trend has brought money, technology and jobs to an economy once based almost entirely on agriculture. Well, CGTN's Jerome Challa has more from Addis Ababa.
Ethiopia has registered impressive textile and garment industry growth in recent years. The sector has attracted hundreds of millions of dollars of investment, created huge job opportunities for locals, and prompts the government to set even higher goals.
This vision of ours being implemented in the garment and textile sector will not only help us achieve our dream of becoming leaders in the African manufacturing sector, but also make the manufacturing sector a leader of our own economy. We are working for it to create more jobs, get us hard currency, and transfer technology to the country.
Ethiopia's history in textiles reaches back to the late 1930s, but it has seen explosive growth over the last 5 years, fueled by the establishment of state-of-the-art specialized industrial parks. Now, the country's garment and textile sector is attracting globally recognized names. The Chinese-built Hawassa Industrial Park opened just over a year ago. Perhaps the biggest name operating there is U.S. clothing giant PVH, owner of brands like Tommy Hilfiger and Calvin Klein. Similar parks built by Chinese companies opened this year in Kombolcha and Mekelle. All tell a story of game-changing achievement.
They can come and plug and play, and that's what we have seen in places where we built industrial parks. It just took them less than 3 months to bring all the machineries, install them, provide training, start production and export. And before we introduced this, it used to take them on average 2 to 3 years.
Ethiopia is looking to further expand the growth of the garment and textile sector, and for that it will need more investors. The government says it has made attracting more foreign direct investment a top priority.
When investors in the garment and textile and other sectors come here, our own Ethiopian investors will get better technology ideas, capacity in technology, and they'll also get market opportunities and capacity. This helps us to create homegrown world-class investors too.
Ethiopia's textile industry over the past 5 years alone has grown by more than 50%, and more than 65 international textile investment projects have been licensed during this time. Experts say if Ethiopia can avoid getting bogged down in bureaucracy, the future for the garment and textile sector is bright indeed. Gumtala CGTN, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
From Ethiopia to Nigeria, the Nigerian government has been locked in deep negotiations with labor unions in the country over a new minimum wage. But if the warning by senior oil workers is anything to go by, it now appears that talks will go beyond the minimum wage to include plans by both the central and state governments to impose tax on pensions and terminal benefits for workers. Well, here's more.
Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari arrives at the Federal Executive Council chambers, setting the stage for this crucial meeting. The highest decision-making organ deliberates on many important issues, but this time the 2018 budget is on top of the agenda. The council has to review the estimates and approve it before President Buhari can present it to the National Assembly.
Federal Executive Council today approved a draft 2018 budget proposals. So we will be liaising with the National Assembly, to agree the date in which the President will formally submit the budget to them.
It's the first budget after Nigeria's economy leaped out of recession, and it would be the budget leading into 2019 when Nigerians go to the polls to elect a new administration. Those two factors make next year's budget of interest to many. But Minister of Budget and Planning, Udo Ndoma, is keeping a tight lead on details like size and priorities. President Buhari's government has broken records for the past 2 years, running the highest budgets in Nigeria's history, $24 billion for the current financial year. The ambitious budgets to resuscitate the country's recession-hit economy were mainly funded from external borrowings. Now that the economy is out of recession, many would be looking at a budget targeted at consolidating the recovery without excessive borrowing.
Going forward, we are looking at having increase in capital allocation with specific sectors concretely financed, also with increased allocation. And what are these sectors we are talking about? Energy, number one. Investment in the energy sector should be truthfully pursued. Investment in agriculture, the mining sector, the extractive sector, attention should be shifted away from oil and gas.
No date has been allocated yet for President Buhari to present the 2018 budget proposal to the National Assembly, but there are indications that it would be presented early next week. The expectations are figures could change, but the president would stick to his long-held plan of heavily investing in infrastructure, social services and economic diversification. Kelechi Emekalam, CGTN, Abuja, Nigeria.
Well, now, viewers, from Kelechi Emekalam, we shift attention to the weather report courtesy of the Central Forecast Office. Well, with that, viewers, we'll come to the end of this newscast. Before we take leave of you, a reminder of our headlines once more. Invoking the power circle, women in decision-making positions have been tasked to raise their voices towards the enforcement of legislations banning FGMC and a total halt of the harmful practice. The Gambia does not recognize Catalonian independence. That's the content of a press release from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, following the hacking of its official Twitter page by a fake account. Activists, students and international human rights groups converge to discuss issues centered on transitional justice and the building of a solid democracy in the Gambia. Plus, an inspiring premise dubbed Let's Go Women has been forwarded by the National Youth Council to promote female soccer in the Gambia. And raising the tax ceiling, a heated negotiation battle over the minimum wage pits labor unions against the Nigerian government. Well, now, viewers, that was all in this edition of the news. Thanks for the pleasure of your company and keep watching GRTS. Well, Abdullah is coming face to face with the economic commander Magat Njai, which comes at 10 p.m. on the checkpoint. Well, for now, I am Tenengite and do have a pleasant evening.